from the Pathway Studios in Johnston proper. You are live from the Path.
Studios here in Johnston proper. It's lovely to be with you on this. I don't know what type of evening it is. It's probably morning when you're listening to it, and so let's not worry about the formalities.
You're saying it's lovely to be with the listener, or like me?
No, I was talking about the listener.
Oh, okay.
I want to know who would listen to this in the morning. That's a. I mean, who wants to start their day with that?
Coming at you for your drive time.
Okay, I think that makes sense, Dan. What you're saying makes sense.
I'm just saying.
Okay. Here's what we got going on the show this evening. First, we got a very special guest. Dirk Von Steen is in the studio. And, that was good. That was good. Way to do it, Bubba. So anyway, I ran in. We'll talk with him a little bit more about kind of his background and story, but I saw him as kind of headlining this event for the Sober Soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had those fellas in before. Bubba's doing some, hanging out with that group and doing some work over there. And so I thought natural fit. And so excited to have Dirk in. He's going to play some tunes. He's going to share about his life story, and then he's going to just participate in the general revelry that is going on in here.
Yep, come on.
Okay, I think that's going to be good. Also, we've got a few. Mike, what was your? I don't know. Can you sum up the thing you want to talk about?
I got a text from my wife this morning that asked me if I was mad at God.
Oh yeah.
And then I realized the answer was yes.
Ooh. Okay. So we're gonna have to see what's going on
with
the
wife.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, Bubba, you've got an Ask the Pastor?
Yeah, I do. I was reading in Jeremiah 26 today in regards to the priests coming at Jeremiah, being angry at him for doing some things. And then it talks about two different other prophets that have given a rough word. One is Micah, and the other is Uriah. And I had a question because we have the book of Micah that we can go back to and what that prophecy is, but we don't, at least not in my 66 books, have the book of Uriah, or the recorded prophecies of Uriah. And so I'm interested to hear, why do I not have that? Like, is that not proven to be God's word? Is there a problem there? Like, what's going on here that I don't have that in my 66 books? And should I be worried about that?
Okay. Yeah. That seems like a great question. Kind of a common question, even across, as you think about either Old Testament or New Testament stuff. Like, why don't I have all this, especially if you get into these things where, like, the gospel of so-and-so and such and such.
Right.
Why isn't this stuff in here?
Yeah, Philip wrote a gospel.
Yeah.
Those are the ones where they tell you that Jesus had a twin and was married.
Oh.
Yeah.
Those are the Gnostics.
I just need to know more about the
I don't know what
Maccabees.
that word means.
Gnostics?
Yeah, what's that mean? I read it sometimes. They'll be like, these are the Gnostic Gospels. And I'm like, okay, that's not in my Bible. I don't care. What does it mean? Dan?
We're doing a second Ask the Pastor.
I mean, it was a
Mike.
philosophy. There's a really good answer that I don't have. I mean, but it's
it's Mike shut up.
That stuff.
I mean, here's the thing: is the algorithm catches me on the news feed. I click on one cool looking Jesus type article, and then the next 15 articles are like 15 things that will convince you Christianity is not real. I'm like, what the heck is this? I don't care. What are they though? I want to know.
Right.
They're never any good.
Did you know the cynics were a group of people?
Yeah. So it's, I thought, well, just real quick, like Gnosticism just believes that there's a separation between like the spiritual world and the physical world.
Yeah.
And Gnosticism tended to elevate the spiritual world, like spiritual world good, physical world bad.
Oh.
Right. So it didn't matter what you did in the physical.
Yeah. So like Christianity says like both.
Right.
And it
Meaning
comes
of heaven and earth.
It's from like the Bible word we use is to know, like gnosko, and that's Gnostic, gnosis. That's where it comes from.
I know I shouldn't have asked.
Yeah, I don't know why you asked that.
The whole eat, drink, and be married for tomorrow we die. It's like I can be as sexually active as I want. Doesn't matter because that's not my spirit. That's my body.
Yep. Dan went right for the sex.
I do. That's where I go. When you look like me, you go there because
I feel like most of the people in the first century would have done the same thing.
Me and Tom Cruise, we know how it is.
we know.
Okay. All right. Anyway.
Well,
Dan, have you ever been compared to being in a group with Tom Cruise before?
No, I don't think
Answer
so.
wisely.
There's others that would surprise you, but not, I don't believe him.
Okay,
Not
fair
that
enough.
one. Okay, before we ruin the show completely, let's do this. Let's hear a song from Dirk so that you can this will reel you in. He's the grabber, so that we can do our poor content later. And so, Dirk, maybe just real quick, just give an introduction of like what the song that you're going to do and
Yeah.
any kind of context they need for it, and then perform it, and then we can kind of talk more about it.
Yeah. So this so the song that I'm gonna play first is called "Living Water." This is off my new record that was released this year, and called Angel Road. And this one is all about kind of getting on the right track. And I'm celebrating 10 years of recovery. So there's always it's always a conversation between me and God and what God is revealing to me. And the living water that we know from a Christian perspective is definitely been proven to be a lot more potent than the alcohol and when that was the center of my life. And I guess when that living water gets inside of you, you got to follow it. And this is what this one's about. So we ready?
We're ready.
Okay. Living Water. Thanks for having me on the pod. Take me from the downtown lights, the busy streets are a endless grind. Gotta get where the green grass grows, the wind blows free, so I can unwind. Been spending too much time taking wrong turns on dead-end roads. Take me to that well where your river of life, living water flows. I'm thirsty for a drink from that river I cannot see. Let your living water live and flow inside of me. I don't need eyes to see where the winding road is leading me. Gotta get back to that well where the river that flows from Galilee. I'm thirsty for a drink from that river I cannot see. Let your living water live and flow inside of me. Thanks, guys.
Hey, man, that song kind of smokes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think that's a real. There have been certain genres of music where it feels like people singing about Jesus just hasn't soaked through.
Yeah.
And like this is. I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear it happening. Because you're right. That song does smoke. It kind of reminds me when Arendelle was in here playing some of them smoky numbers. He was the Swampish.
Yeah.
tunes.
Yeah, it's got some swamp to it.
Yeah. That's pretty great.
How long have you had that song in the tanker?
This one I've probably been working on. I recorded it this last summer. Usually what I do when I get a new guitar, which is why I like to get new guitars, is I just pick it up and put it in a tuning that I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And what the chords even are, and just start riffing on it.
Yeah.
So I think when I first started, I got my first resonator probably about 2.5 years ago. And I still have a couple more that are kind of from that same time, know, where you just you get a riff in your head and you put it down for a while. And it's like, you want to finish something, but until it's the right time and the words come in. And that one, when the words come, I like to have the music kind of ready to go, and it fell together pretty quick after that. So
yeah, dang, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I will say, if you guys listen to my record on it, that's a hard one to do by myself because my brother plays drums on the record and he just smokes on a drum solo that's so good.
Yes,
and I have a fiddle player that played on the record, and it was like I had a whole middle section that was just them just killing it, and it's
okay. I'm pretty excited about this.
Yeah.
Now hold on, this is on an album and it's
Yes.
out there, like it's on Amazon.
It's on Amazon. It's on Spotify. It's on YouTube. Yeah, wherever you do your stream. Yeah. So Dirk Von Steen, and the record is called Angel Road, is what this last one is, and yeah, it's fun, man. It's fun to be able to start sharing this music with everybody.
Yeah. Hey, man. So give it a spin, sure, but like, go ahead and buy that thing. Dirk only gets like a penny or two every time you let it spin.
It's a gesture.
Yeah, but the man needs to buy new guitars so he can write new tunes.
Yeah.
And
In
so,
fact, you're standing in the way.
yeah,
Your lack of
new
an
music
album
coming up.
purchase is a problem for me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fix it immediately.
it's possible that Paul was not allowed to go into Mija because people weren't buying his tents. It's speculation on my part. I'm just saying.
That's in the Gnostic Gospels.
Okay. Hey, so speaking of which, like when you were talking about like coming back to a song, it made me think about something that you had shared about kind of your life, where you had been. It was funny. We won't go into all the details, but like Dirk and I and Mike have met when we were in high school in like a battle of the bands.
What?
Yeah.
Wild.
I thought it was the Mr. Universe contest.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people from that.
Let me give that what it deserves.
Living water.
So, but anyway, so like you were doing music back then, but then there's a like a point in your life, kind of a drought of music, and related to alcoholism. Like it just sounds like it sapped your desire to make tunes, to write tunes.
Correct. And just that's the way that alcoholism worked for me and for a lot of people is we build these walls of isolation around us. And I used to play in bands out, and I used to have fun, and the blues community is great in Des Moines, and great people and support it. And I just got to the point that I was so scared of drinking and driving.
Yep.
After getting very lucky, time after time after time, that I didn't want to go drive anywhere, because I was going to drink. That was never a question. And so those walls of isolation, when you're just sitting there in your house with no passion or reason to really play or with anybody, that's part of my testimony. Is alcoholism took away my desire to play music. And there was a drought I put my guitar down for about 10 years.
Did you find yourself during that time like trying to write and it not being there, or you just didn't want to touch it?
Yeah, I would always, in my head, I would miss playing a lot.
Sure.
And then you pick the guitar up, and after about a half an hour, it's just frustrating.
Yep.
When it's like, man, it's not what it used to be. And there was a part of when you get into that part of your addiction that you don't think that you could ever go back to that point.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get the kind of depressive part that substance abuse will force on you, makes you just regret it and all. And it's like, it's almost like I would not want to pick it up because I would feel so terrible about the fact that I've
Sure.
did this to myself.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it was a kind of a sad reminder of like, man.
That is so tough, and it's a unique. I think it's a thing that maybe is can get overlooked about like what ended up being it's an overused word, but like some of the trigger points or the thing that memories that are associated with the realization that, like, to your point, that, you know, things that you've done to yourself feels like that you're out of control to shift or change, and then you're constantly kind of fighting against this image of what you could have been or what you were. And it's kind of rehashes what feels like a defeat over and over again.
Correct.
That's tough.
Yeah,
it's a
'cause
tough because you like it feels like you got to muster it to yourself to get over it, and like you can't really.
Yeah, and I always tell people, you know, music and alcohol and drugs were woven together for me.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's a common thing with a lot of people. Is that I could never. I never could. It took me a while, even in recovery, to really feel comfortable playing and desire to get back out and do it again, because part of my identity was just there, and I didn't feel like it was, you know. But yeah.
Yeah. You know what's so funny? It sounded maybe foreign to me at the thought that, like, people felt so connected to, say, alcohol, that when you take alcohol out of an equation of which it normally is in, that the situation was just so foreign to them. And it makes me think about situations like playing music sober when you're not used to, and maybe even if you weren't like drunk at the time or something, or high at the time, everyone else was. And so there's like a buffer, there's like an agreed upon thing. We're all kind of doing the same thing here. And so, but there was I was talking to a friend of mine, and I think for health reasons and things, he's about my age, and he's like, I needed to stop drinking. And so he gave up drinking, and he said that some folks that he was really close to were like mad.
Yeah.
They were just like pissed at the guy for trying to give up alcohol, and like stuff that they would normally do, like get out and work on vehicles together, or like hang out, sit on the front porch. If he wouldn't drink, then they didn't want him there. And it's I think it makes it's just much deeper and even more gray of a situation than just like, hey, do I drink or not drink? Because there's memories tied to it. There's social situations, the ease of which, like, how do we relate to people if it's not through alcohol? Or Mike's often talking about like how easy it is to make friends at the heater shop. You know, outside.
Yeah.
You're out there.
You want to
smoking.
make a quick friend? Get out a pack of smokes, go stand outside.
Go to the
These
smoke
people
shack.
will come out of the cracks of the mortar.
Right.
They're like, hey, man, I bum a smoke with you. And they're like, yeah.
Where are those candles? Let's do this, buddy.
Nobody smokes anymore.
Yeah, I know.
They're all vapors.
And so I say that to say, like, if you're someone who's not ever had an addiction or even just tried some of those things, and you hear people talk about it, just know that, like, there's more sinews to it than, like, do I choose to drink today or smoke today or do whatever the thing I was going to do today. It's deeper than that. It's more interconnected and interwoven than that. And like it's the things that it can give you, it also at some point feels like it takes away from those types of things in the same manner. So
it is funny how, like, I remember Dan gave a sermon illustration one time about, like, he was talking about divorce, but he like glued two boards together, and then when you rip the two boards apart, like there were shards of it, you know, like it didn't break away clean. And like when you start talking about addiction, like, especially if you have not walked through it, it's so easy to start categorizing it as if it's this one easy definable thing.
Right.
But like, I tell you what, like, this is going to sound so stupid in relation to a lot of other addictions, right? But like, I thought I loved long drives. Like, I really like driving, like for 8-10 hours, stopping at gas stations. I just loved it, right? Turns out I like smoking and driving. That's what I like doing. When I try to drive without I'm like, this sucks. I just take forever to get here. And like, I don't want to do this anymore. I always thought I was a really patient person. Like, I could sit there and wait for somebody, and however long it took, no problem. I'm not getting all fired up. I'll just listen to the radio and hang out. Turns out I like to just sit there and smoke. And so like when I'm not doing that, I'm like, where is everybody and what is taking so long? I am not an inherently patient person. And so like even what feels like a virtue kind of, it was like riding on the back of like this addiction thing that I just liked. Like that would really, you know, would hold on to. And like this is true across whatever, pick your poison. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like people who are really sociable. And it turns out that the thought of going out and sitting in a room full of people, if you're not drinking, sounds like not fun. It just sounds like sitting around in a loud room where everyone is starting to act a way and you're not acting that way, and you're like, I don't know. I feel like I'm talking to like 20 different people than the people I walked in here with, and I'm the only person that's still sane.
It's always interesting to have conversations with fellas that are kind of, just starting out in the recovery life. And like, you get 2 weeks in and your body is still kicking at you and fighting you and stuff. And there's still chemical stuff like kicking around and it's rough withdrawals and everything. From that 2 week to the 30 days, you start to like feel a little bit better. And then it gets to like, it's not holding those hooks in you so much anymore. But like when you get to that 30 days, and this isn't like the way that psychologists and psychotherapists talk about it, but like from my experience, what I've seen, you see that like 30-day hit, people start to realize that like the other hooks that were in them was the community, was the fact that they had that identity in that, and they start having this crisis of stepping back and going, oh, I don't know how to be a sober adult. Like, I don't know what my Friday nights look like now that I don't go drinking with my buddies, or I don't know what I do when I've got a day off. Because, like, I get my stuff done, but, like, then what? Like, what do I enjoy?
Or I have
hobbies.
Right. I have money in my pocket.
Right,
I don't know what to do with money.
Like, that's the crazy thing that I see the hit where they're like, like, what's pulling me back now is not so much the chemical, like, withdrawal addiction pulling on, but it's what was ingrained in you from like a behavioral perspective and from a community perspective and identity perspective. You don't know what to be now. And I mean, that's why, when I have these kind of conversations, it's pointing to Jesus, because like, you got to replace that with something. You got to replace that with some community that, like, fine, you want to know what to do on a Friday night? Find a church. Find some people that are hanging out that aren't doing this stuff. Come to my place on a Friday night if you need to. I'll take you to a movie or go bowling with you. Like, we'll figure it out. But it's just crazy that you don't think about that identity crisis that you end up having when you leave that.
So what turns the corner in your life, Dirk?
Yeah, I'd say that just to kind of follow you up there is, I went the route of Alcoholics Anonymous.
Yeah, sure.
That's just it's part of my testimony, my story.
Yeah.
And we have a saying, and we were joking about this before. There's always these sayings that people say that in early recovery you're like, whatever. But one of the things that certain people will say something and they're like, oh, you can take the alcohol away, but you still left with the ism. Yeah. And then you start doing things like going to church and you hear a pastor talk about, how do you know the difference between God's voice and Satan's voice? God will tell you something one time and Satan will sit and nip at your heels all the time. And that's exactly what what that addiction did. And so to answer your question, but when I turned, by the time that I sobered up, I was ready to hit the ground running. I was ready to do whatever I needed to do to change.
Yeah.
But I didn't know anything about recovery. I think it's a blessing. I like to look at it like that, is I hadn't gotten an OWI. I hadn't gone to jail. I hadn't been court ordered to an AA meeting. Right. I hadn't gotten trouble at work. At the time I hadn't been through a divorce, and so it was a part of it was like, am I an alcoholic? I knew that I struggled with not, I knew that I could not drink.
Yeah.
Right.
Alcohol controlled my life.
Yeah.
It controlled my time. It controlled just how much wasted time.
Uh-huh.
Sure.
So I started diving into recovery.
Yep.
I went to 5-6 meetings a week.
Wow.
At the beginning, because I number one, I drank every day, so it was like, okay, I got to do something to start working through it. Yeah. After 30 days in, you start going to these rooms, and like these people that you don't even know. I'll never forget it. You walk in and you're like, you look at these, just because at the time I was 33 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I'd look around and I'd see like a 70-year-old woman, Spanish woman, sitting there.
Yeah.
She was from Mexico. And and I'm like, there's nothing that this woman is going to say that I'm going to connect with.
Right.
There's nothing. And all of a sudden, she opens her mouth, and within 10 seconds, it's like the hair on the back of my neck stands up. Like, you can't get anything past this woman. She's going to call you out on it.
Yeah.
If you try to, she's going to see through it. But then all of a sudden, they kept telling you to come back, and they kept telling you things like, we're going to love you until you can love yourself.
Yeah.
Because when I came in, it took me 2 years sober to where I accepted Christ.
Yeah.
And it was not because I didn't believe you when you said, that Jesus is the way, the truth, and life. Like
right.
It was never that for me.
Right.
It was always like, that's great, And I don't know, if it was just maybe a little agnostic, inside of me, like I need something else right now. I need to do something. I need some work. I need to work through some things, before I can understand any sort of like a, and I think that's why I was happy that it wasn't defined.
Right.
I know that's always a controversial thing in recovery.
Oh, yeah.
Some things, well, you have to throw Jesus out there, or they don't say Jesus, so I don't connect with that. And I say, I'm glad there's both.
Absolutely.
Because
Agreed.
if I had not had a program that focused more on let's get in and do some work to take care of what you need to do to work through this stuff, I would not have stayed sober.
Yeah, the step programs are awesome in so many ways because of that structure and because of the ability to do something and to like make your way through a process rather than just making your way through what it feels like a book at the time.
Yeah,
like the big book is, right? Like what we call it. And so,
correct.
Yeah, no, totally fair. Yeah.
So I got in and I dove in head first. I did everything that they told me to do because I started seeing results.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I started to see the miracle happen early on. Where it's like that's, the first song that I wrote talks about that. Once I started working through, you do the step work. You do work where you actually make a list of your resentments, your fears, and your sexual inventory, and you start working through this stuff.
Yep.
And you actually start. So you're left with what they call a character defect list. That's not a character defect list that God just, now you've worked through this, it's gone.
Right.
No.
Right.
I look more like, okay, here's a list of things that if these things start creeping back up in my life, I'm doing something wrong.
Sure, yeah.
I need to, what is it that I can go, so that's what I did. When I started going through it and doing the step work was just figuring out how can I become a better person and new playgrounds, playmates. And at 2 years sober, Jesus revealed himself to me in such a beautiful way that,
That's amazing.
That is amazing.
I love that, man.
Yeah, so tell me a little bit about that. Like one of the things that you had mentioned was it was about 8 years ago where you felt like the Holy Spirit said, you need to be writing and playing music. What was that experience like?
So we had some revival services at the time it was called Grimes United Methodist Church, and they're Prairie Creek now.
Wait a minute, just to clear, is that the church that has like the walk-through nativity?
Yeah,
It's pretty
we
good.
used to do that. COVID canceled that. The
that's
live
too bad.
nativity scene. I was a wise man. I was one of the wise men.
kidding.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, I was going to say you should check it
You
out.
did
but
make it as a wise man? Is that what
Well,
you're saying?
a wise guy would probably be more what it would be.
Why I
to
ought
by
to
the outside
move along.
community. But where were we? Oh yeah, revival services. Sorry, you got me off on tangent there. So we had some revival services. We had a pastor from Canada come down, Pastor Ian, and had a couple days of revival services. And I was pretty newly into this whole going to church thing and accepted Christ a few months earlier. So I think I was in, I guess you could call it fertile ground, I guess.
Sure.
But to see what God was doing through those services, just to the community, to the church community, was just fascinating. And I the Spirit came upon me very heavy. Went to the altar and was just weeping, and just very clearly said, I need to be doing music. That was very clear. What was not clear was the next day when I woke up and it was like, okay, now what do we do? So it became clear over time that what the opportunities that came from going to church was shortly after that, I got asked to lead the youth worship band at the church, and I had no idea what I was doing. I'd never heard Chris Tomlin before.
Wow.
I was pretty green, as we call it in the trade. And so it was me, 2 drummers, and 6 singers. That was our band.
That's pretty much the makeup of Tomlin's band.
Yeah.
Amazing.
and the craziest thing, it 10 years ago, even 10 years ago, if you would have said that, a little over 2 years into this sobriety journey, that all of a sudden my passion and desire to play music and purpose would come back to playing at church, I wouldn't. There's no way I would have.
Yeah,
Of course, right. Yeah.
No way.
Oh, I love that so much.
But yeah.
So okay, so then the journey from then to now, if I think about, we had COVID kind of creates an interesting situation when it comes to kind of playing live music. And so I think in some ways, sometimes that caused people to just kind of, I don't know, give it up. Some people like the time being able to just focus on writing and putting some stuff together. I think re-energized it. Did you have either one of those?
I did. Yeah, I had both of them. There was a just ache in my heart when there wasn't any live music, because I mean, when that whole thing started, like anybody else, we didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
There was a short period of time that there was the thought came through my head of like, is this just the way life's going to be like for and so I really started to miss playing, and I wanted to get back out, and I knew that my guitar playing, I had taken lessons multiple times, and played guitar my whole life, and I was always a drummer in high school, and so I never was a lead singer. So I knew that I needed to get trained as a singer. So what I did during COVID is I decided, I'm like, you know what, if I'm going to do this, I need to know what I'm doing singing. So I went and took some vocal lessons. Nice. And really had a great time with Shayla Cutler at Central Iowa Music Lab. She was a classically trained vocalist, and that's how she taught, and just learned so much about how to control my voice.
Yep.
And how to project your voice. So then I started getting out and playing live shows. It was pretty rocky at first, but got my first 3 hours of music down, and was doing some 90s pop rock and anything I could get through to fill up the time. And I played a lot of empty rooms. I played with some places with decent amount of crowd. But what I did is I found I absolutely love to do it again.
Yeah. And
that whole time I was writing music, and was kind of sprinkling that in, and I still do that now. I'll still do a lot of different cover songs as well. But yeah, so over the last 3 years, that's been my focus is getting back out and using. Even and it's funny because people always it's like, how do you like playing the gigs where there's nobody there? And I love them because those are the ones that I get. That's like a practice.
Sure, yeah.
It's like, okay, I'm gonna start. This is where I'm gonna work stuff out. You figure out, like you figure out an act. Like you figure out, okay, I don't want to play. If I never have to play Brown Eyed Girl again, I'd be just fine. Like there was like a list of, okay, these are on the chopping block, and these are and then you start filling it up, and now I'm to the point that. I'm really ready in 2025 to kind of let God take the reins.
Right, right.
And direct. So,
what if God wants you to play two princes? You don't tell him?
If God,
before you
better bring a bass player
with you.
Okay. I'm just saying, how do you tell whether the Spirit's moving you or whether you just got yourself a rough idea?
If you got yourself a beatboxer to go along with two princes and an acoustic guitar, I'm telling you what.
You could do it.
That's a fog machine and a half.
I mean, I'm in for that whenever you want to give it a shot. I'm just saying.
Okay. All right. That might not be the Spirit.
Don't do that.
So let's do this. Let's do another tune. And then I think maybe we'll catch up just a little bit on, say, how does Dirk see his 2025 shaping out? How's he thinking about it? And then we got some. We got to figure out why Mike's wife left him a voicemail and said, "Hey, you angry with the Lord?"
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Do it. So tell me a little bit about this next song you're going to do.
Yeah. So this next song is it's the title track for this next record, or the record that I released this summer. It's called Angel Road. And one of the things that I'm very blessed to get to say today is that I'm 10 years sober, and along with that, I did an event called the Road to Recovery. And one of the things that I've learned in recovery is the more there's God's will and there's my will, right? And all of a sudden, you stay sober a little while, you start doing things right. At first, my road, it was all over. It's pretty clear when I'm following my path, But the more you kind of follow Jesus, and those it's not as far off. So this song is just called Angel Road, and it's it's knowing that accepting the fact that Jesus does love me and Jesus does have a place for me in heaven, and it's called Angel Road. Hope you enjoy it. Start that over. The voice in my head's telling me I'm not good enough and I don't deserve love that you so freely give. I need to leave the past behind. One day I will walk down that road Where the angels are, they spread their wings, and it's lined with gold. Your words are growing in my heart, I'm trying to cultivate a faith beyond our space and time. Through the noise that died the weight, one day I will walk down that road. Where the angels are, they spread their wings, and it's lined with gold. The black night always gives in to the light. It's darkest just before the dawn on Angel Road. I will not stop to rest my feet or to ease my pain. It's not by force, it's not by greed, it's by grace. One day I will walk down that road. Where the angels are, they spread their wings, and it's lined with gold. One day I will walk down that road. Where the angels are, they spread their wings, and it's lined with gold. Gentlemen.
Yeah.
Hey man, that was fun to listen to.
Yeah, what is it?
Like I know that seems like a super simple compliment, but I mean it. Like it was fun to listen to that whole song, and there wasn't a single part where I was like, okay, like I know what's coming next and I know what to expect, and it's formulaic and all the different stuff like a lot of music turns into.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed just sitting and listening to that more than I've enjoyed music in a while, to be honest. So
it's definitely not formulaic. Like you write very unique songs.
Yeah.
Like they're just. It's not something that I would expect to hear anywhere else. Like even the first one was this way too.
Yeah.
Is like your brain gets used to taking in like pop style music or even worship music is horrible for this. You know what I'm saying? Like just very formulaic, and like these are not the songs that you're pumping out. And so that was awesome. Very, very cool.
Yeah, agreed.
Thanks, guys.
All right, so again, you can go check out. You can go to dirkvonstein.com and just check it out. You can also follow him on the socials if you look for Dirk Von Steen Music on Facebook. Now, like, how widespread are you on these socials? You do the Instagram and the X and all the things?
I do the Instagram. The X I haven't quite got onto yet, but you know, I think I could probably step up my my social media game a little bit. But Facebook makes it so easy whenever you're planning events.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, to just make an event where people could follow it and see it and get the information. You can the time, the date, they'll take you right through maps to get there and everything.
Yeah, right. Okay, so you can anyway. If you want to find more on Dirk and make sure you keep up with the news and all that stuff. Sounds like Facebook's the weapon of choice, but certainly the website will little dab will do you. Okay, so let's talk about just like what is the how do you see the future? So you did a big recovery event for sober soldiers.
Yeah.
You had mentioned that. You got something coming up this week. Is a Saturday?
This Saturday I'll be playing at it's just one more in Jamaica, Iowa. They invited me back to play there. So yeah, I'm right at the tail end of the live shows for this year. Because once December hits, we've got kids' birthday parties and the holidays coming up, and I've tried the last couple of years to book in December, and it makes for just I'm getting running around everywhere. But I'd like for you to check out the music, and one of the things we were talking before as well is 2025 is going to look a little bit different. I'm going to continue to book live shows, and to play out at different bars and restaurants around town. Because that's where a lot of people like to go see live music. But I'm also going to be kind of diving in and I guess we didn't even talk about this ahead of time, but I'm going to be actually putting together a live worship band.
Oh, nice.
Because I think there's a lot of worship leaders that are incredible musicians. That everybody's got their Sunday gig, right?
Right.
And but I'm finding that there's new opportunities to lead worship in the community.
Yeah.
And different days of the week. So, the Sober Soldier guys looking to maybe get a couple events booked with them. Got Sheepgate Teen Challenge. We're going to work with them on getting some worship into that to their facility in Colfax. And I got some other stuff that's brewing right now.
Nice.
And letting the Spirit lead the way.
Yep.
Just kind of ready to kind of dive in and really let God take the reins. My wife and I, she sings as well, so I enjoy singing or having her sing with me. So I'm looking forward to some new opportunities to get to do that as well. So
that's super exciting. Like so, I'm gonna be praying for Dirk, and it's interesting as you were talking about like letting the Spirit lead the way on that thing. It's not dissimilar to how you think about people trying to grow any artistic career. Like you take the opportunities that come, except for there's a lot of pressure in those arenas to try to formulate what you think it should look like and to kind of curate the things that go on to like, well, this fits me, this doesn't, whether you're an actor, whether you're a writer, whether you're a musician or whatever. And the cool thing about letting the Spirit run with stuff is that like oftentimes it doesn't match what you thought at all. It doesn't necessarily meet what you expected. And so you saw hints of that, like it's okay to play to a room of two if it's the right to. Like it's it's saying like if it's what God has you doing, and we say that to ourselves just to justify why we keep doing this show. But
I wasn't going to say that, but yeah.
In general, it's just like if it's it takes off some of the pressure having to curate a different version of yourself and just go, this is what I got. It's what God is using, and to be open to where that may take you. Before you stop playing music the first time, you never would have thought that you'd end up doing, work in churches. And like, even as your stuff starts to kind of come back together, being able to play to crowds who just need to be inspired and reminded that like you walked the things that they walked, like there's a lot of opportunities in that. And it may not be the way that you fashioned it 4 years ago, but like God does awesome stuff with things you never thought of. So like, what a cool way to approach it.
It is. And I think the one thing that I didn't see coming as well is just the interaction with how being able to touch people's lives. Like I'll never forget, I was at Pally's Bar and Grill probably earlier on when I was still kind of working through my set list and not, faking it till I make it. I hate to say that I come across like I've made it because that is not the case whatsoever. But I was still pretty early and was not real confident. That would probably be the better way to say it. And I was we were talking. I would do some 90s pop rock music, because that's what women that go to a bar like to listen to.
Yeah, you gotta
that's
give
what I
people
was
what they
told,
want.
And there was a handful of people that were there, and there was a gal that was there, and she kind of had a look on her face like I wasn't sure if she was enjoying the music or not, to be honest with you. But she stuck around, and at set break, she came up to me and she said, "How did you know to play it was like Wonderwall. You
Yeah.
know, everybody's got that guy, that buddy that plays Wonderwall.
Sure. Yep.
And a couple other ones. And she said, "How did you know to play those songs?" And I said, I play a lot of country music, Chris Stapleton to 70s classic rock, stuff all over the place.
Yep.
And she said that I'll never forget it. She walked up and she had tears in her eyes, and she said, "I buried my best friend this morning.
Oh gosh.
And a year ago, she was diagnosed with a rare disorder. I don't remember what she had. It's and she said I was holding her son as they were burying, his 5-year-old son
Oh my
while she's
gosh.
burying her in the ground. And she's just like, it was a horrible day.
Yeah.
And she's like, I just didn't want to go home yet. And she's like, I just wanted to come out. And when you played those songs, those were her 3 favorite songs.
Oh man.
So it's like, how did you know to do that? And I said, that's God working right there.
Yeah.
And we hugged, and she left, and it was just like, wow, I didn't see that coming either.
Yeah, right.
You know,
Nobody
like,
thinks you can
wow.
worship with Oasis. That's awesome.
That Wonderwall,
Especially
would
Oasis.
still got it. Wonderwall,
You're right,
Oasis, still
especially
got it.
Oasis. They're like,
They'll
no,
be-
it's not worship music. You stop that right now.
They'll be so mad they found out God used them.
If you're gonna play for God, do Champagne Supernova. Oh wow, that's super cool, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. All right. Well, so thank you so much for sharing tunes. I think Dirk's going to do one more kind of once we get toward this is how we keep you. We keep you by telling you that Dirk's going to provide more ice cream at the end of the show here. And so big thank you to Dirk so far for sharing your story. He's going to hang around too. So if you hear him, he's going to be chiming in on the conversation as he sees fit. All right, Mike, tell me about this. Your wife says you might be mad at the Lord, and you said, I think I am.
It's hot in here, fellas.
This isn't the start of like a Nelly thing, is it?
Ew. No. I hate that.
With a
Oh.
little bit of.
Hey, Dirk started it.
Okay, so anyway, my wife sent me a text this morning, and she asked very plainly, like, "Are you mad at God?" And I'm like, because, like, it's not been, I don't know, 4 or 5 days, 6 days, almost a week. I don't know, probably less than that. But God's been very generous to me in allowing me fences to, be in my Bible every day. And I'm in a Bible study with somebody that requires like a daily reading and some prayer time, and then a separate, just Bible reading on my own, and like a drive of which I, can pray or listen to my thing, and God has been just very generous in helping me get into a rhythm with all that stuff. And for some reason, like, I don't know, last Tuesday or Wednesday or whatever, like, I just started taking inventory of all the things around me, and I'm like, you know what, like this. I think what finally broke the camel's back is I was talking to somebody, and they're like, I'm just having a hard time believing God even exists. And I'm like, you know what? I can't take any more of this. Like literally, like people like have been shown his glory and the difference that he makes in the lives of them and the people around them. And a completely ungenerous heart, which is the one I had at the time, is like, I can't take any more of this arrogant approach to denying God's existence. I'm just done. I'm done listening to this. And a lot of it, like, this is just going to have to be me admitting some things. A lot of it is me lumping a lot of things together and seeing a lot of God's promises yet to come true.
Yeah.
Things that God is good and faithful for, where his character precedes his glory, until, like, you're patiently waiting on earth for God to redeem a thing. And I think I was just one more not yet away from being done. Not with my relationship with God or anything,
Sure, right.
but like I just was not. And so, like, last Wednesday shows up or whatever, I have my Bible study, and I have to admit to the person I'm like, look, I didn't read it today. I can't, I don't have a ton to talk about. How was your week or whatever? And then Thursday I skipped it. And Friday, I didn't go pray up at a bench that I pray at every day.
Yeah.
Every day I pray at a bench. And Friday, I'm like, I just don't want to. Do I really have to do this every day?
Sure.
And then Saturday comes, same story. Sunday comes along, and I go to a church that I don't normally go to, and I'm like, you know what? My relationship with God has been feeling a bit funky. Maybe getting out of my normals and going to have a big worship, and like listening to someone else preach. And I'm like, this will, and I went by myself. My whole family was sick, so I was by myself.
Yep.
And I'm like, this will be great. And it was good, but it wasn't the thing, you know? And so, and I told my wife about it. I'm like, because God had been, he had been specific about one thing. And there was an addiction that he wanted gone. And it's a level of whatever. It's smoking again, fellas. Here it is. It's smoking.
Yep.
Okay, so anyway, he wanted it out. And for some reason, don't tell me why I think like it's not an audible voice. But basically, I feel like God was basically saying to me, we don't have anything to talk about until you are ready to be obedient to the thing I've asked you to do.
Because this isn't the first time
It's not the first time
smoking was very clear the last time this came up.
Very clear. And he's always been that way. Like,
Yep.
always been that way. It's not that it's the smoking that's the thing. It's flat out disobedience.
Yeah.
And so, like he's not, and his heart never feels jerky about it. It's always like, Michael, I want to use you to join me in these things. But if you're not going to join me, there's not, you know what I'm saying? What do you want me to do?
Yeah.
You know? So anyway, I did it. I'm like, okay, that's it. Fine. You're right. It's out. And this was all last week or whatever. And I was still feeling the same. Still feeling the same. You know, and then so finally I was telling my wife, I'm like, you know, she was praying and like she's still doing her Bible study and still writing in her journal and still spending time with God. And she's like, you know, God really, I think, is leading me to look at this thing this way. And now I'm even more kind of irritated because I'm like, I quit the smoking like you asked me to, and there's nothing but not yets. It's not yets, and then you take my thing away that I love that makes me a patient, loving person who likes to do long drives. And so all of a sudden that's gone.
It's the thing that, you know, what's funny though, is that it's the thing that takes the edge off the not yets.
Yes, for sure. For sure.
I very much, just so we don't pass it too quickly, I very much sympathize with that. Like when you are following Jesus's footsteps into crowds of mess and disobedience and difficulty, the places where the gospel is needed the most, you're going to look around and you're going to be surrounded by what you know to be God's good promises and the realization that a lot of them are not yets. And there is a weight that can come with those things because it's tough to watch. It's tough to watch things crumble in front of you. It's tough to watch people who you love, people who you have hopes for, continue to pile stuff on their own head, to live the weight of those things, to make choices that otherwise harm themselves or harm other people. And like there is a very, even though you very much trust in the promises of God, there is a human weight to watch human suffering.
Yes.
And so I think that is very human and relatable to not be able to at any given time, you know, continue to carry what feels like the pressure of believing in God's goodness and recognizing that they have not yet come to pass and trusting in that, but still having to live in the moment of which they weigh.
I think those were all the things.
Okay,
honestly.
yeah.
I think they were all the things.
Okay. And you kind of said that, but like I just like that's super relatable. And I think it's very human. And anyway, I just wanted to call that out.
So anyway, like I'd been, you know, I was voiced my frustration a little bit with my wife. I'm like, well, at least he's talking to somebody in this house. You know what I'm saying? I'm half irritated. And I know that I'm being disobedient, not even in the smoking thing, right? Like I was being disobedient. I wasn't, I couldn't even get myself to like actually have a decent prayer, like to just talk to him. I'm like, I just don't want to. I just flat out don't want to. I gave you the smoking, you know what I'm saying? And we're like 5 days in. I've not championed this thing. I haven't kicked it to the curb and not let it own my life at all. We're 5 days in obedience. And I'm like, Lord, reveal to me the secrets of the universe. This is all complete arrogance on my part, right? So it's not lost on me that I am the problem, right? So anyway, but I did not realize it to the extent until my wife texted me this morning. And she said, are you mad at God? And I'm like, why would I be? Yeah, I think I am. I think I am. I think that I feel like I'm surrounded by not yets. And the problem is I am a central part to the not yets. Almost like a lot of things that I like that where it is either my responsibility to bring the gospel into that situation or to be the light in a darkness situation. What feels like I was the guy that God said, join me in this thing. Those are all the not yets. And so like I think that I'm like I know I'm the I know he's not the problem. I know if there is a problem, It's definitely me. But I think the ultimate thing is God's like, there is no problem. You're just in the not yets.
Right.
That's a thing. But like that's not how I was seeing it. It wasn't from a maturity way of looking at it.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm trying this phrase out because it immediately popped in my head. Is that you are not the person, even in all those situations, you're not the person who makes the difference. You're the person who knows the difference. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like as opposed to the person whose responsibility is to carry the weight of changing all the bits of darkness. That would be the person who makes the difference. I think like it's very, very possible that in any given, or even all these situations, like it's God's to do. It's the Holy Spirit's to do. You're the person who is there to not make the difference, but you do know the difference. And so you can recognize when thing is moving in God's direction and where people are not, and to be able to facilitate prayer for those things and to step into situations that obviously need it. But like, it's a responsibility carrying issue. Frustrated because like, if, hey, I'm doing all these things, why isn't it changing? It had nothing to do with the things that you're doing. Like, it's not your responsibility anyway to make the difference. It just is responsibility to know the difference. I don't know. I'm just testing it out. It's the thing that popped into my mind.
Yeah, I think it's true. I think that's definitely true. Well, like in a right humility and like understanding like who we are in the equation. Like we talked about this a little bit last week, right? Like it is so much a gift that when God invites you to be part of something and allows you to see it happen.
Yeah.
But like the center, the part where you're the center part of that story is the fact that God loves you centrally and wanted you to walk through that with him.
Yeah.
Not that your bold actions or keen intelligence or suave way of speaking was the mover, right?
Yeah.
Like, and so like, once again, I think overall, I would not have realized how my seesaw had bordered on arrogance, how my seesaw had gotten out of whack, where I was basically lumping all of the not yets together as if that was my whole world. Missing out on the fact that I have a loving wife that loves Jesus, that is still walking through this with me. That is a blessing.
Yeah.
A huge blessing.
Yep.
Like it colors my every day. That relationship covers my every minute that God has given me that person, right? That the person I'm doing a Bible study with just met Jesus 6 months ago. And I got to be the one to like talk to her about it and baptize this girl. And like, it's a huge blessing. I've pushed these off to the side as if that is small and not a thing, because I was focusing on the not yets. And so the truth of the matter was, when she asked that question, I realized that yes, I am mad at God. Wrongfully, but still, that was the truth. That was my posture.
Yeah.
But I think overall, the reason I wanted to talk about it is this has not been the first time I've been mad at God, right? Like there's cycles. It happens, But find me when I was 22 and I'd be mad at him for a year.
Right.
Or because a thing didn't go my way, and then fast forward another 5 years and I'm mad at him for like 6 months and then 2 months. And then, was it a blessing to look 5 days down the road and go, I've been separated from God for 5 days for all the same reasons I'm normally separated from God. But this time I got to see it in 5 days and not a year and not 6 months.
It's huge.
And you know what I'm saying? Like, and so like, even in the way that I've been seeing it incorrectly, kind of loving dad brings you back like this.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That goes, Mike, come on. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you're a big deal. You gave up the smokes. Not the point. You know what I'm saying? And so like it's I guess maybe at this point that I'm thankful that I have a loving wife that's willing to ask me that question, because like obviously, like, I mean, we're on a podcast talking about Jesus here every Monday. I show up at I teach a youth group. You know what I'm saying? Like I have things that my life is centered around as if Jesus works all the time in my heart. And like, not very many people would ask me that question. We'll put it that way.
Yeah.
But my wife certainly would, because she loves me and she loves him more. And so
Awesome.
the fact that like maybe the broad stroke is like, it's your heart's going to do this every once in a while. We're kind of broken people. It happens. But to realize that he didn't move, and the way you feel about him doesn't change who he is one iota. he just is.
Yeah.
And he's the same God he's always been.
I actually think that this is you're most prone to this. Like, if this is not happening to you, you may not actually be engaging in the difficulties of the world of which the gospel is keenly used to address. Like, there's a perfection out there, I'm sure, but like generally speaking, when you look around and you start interacting with the harmfulness of that's going on, like the poisoning of minds, the people who aren't eating that should have, like just the fallenness of the world around you, there's like a normal thing to go back to God and like, are you sure the balance of like where your grace and justice is hitting right now? Are you sure this is right? Because this is hard to watch. This is hard to be part of. This is hard to see my own fallibilities reflected in the lives of which I'm interacting with. And so like, I actually think it is, at least momentarily, somewhat normal to have an earthly frustration with like, I don't know, of the not yets.
Yeah.
That immediately like call, like, I don't think God's like got quibbling so much with the like the same thing that the prophets are quibbling about. God, how long? How much? Why do you persist in these things? Like, why do you allow these things to go on? Like, these are the same things the prophets of God are asking.
Yeah.
And so that part's completely normal. It's like, it's not necessarily the recovery time, but like those things prompt you to reorient and thank God for what he is and who he is, and so that you can see the situation rightly, that it's healthy. Where it persists, where it starts to separate you, that's where it becomes like unhealthy, and that's where anger comes in. Because like no one goes, I was angry for half a second. Anger generally is rendered because it's stuck.
Yeah.
It lingers.
You grab a hold of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you hold hands with it and you spend time together.
Yeah. I only say that though because like, I don't know, like if it's not occurring to you that you're not, these things don't actually even hit you for a brief second, I mean, it's possible that you're not elbows and eyebrows and hands and feet in the situation of which you should be like, boy, there's just all kinds of worldly injustice, Lord. Are you sure? I feel like it's healthy.
Yeah. Because here's I think where it comes to head too is like, I can even believe God's promises are good, right? And I can lose hope in a humanity to choose it.
Oh, totally.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Easily, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, does that put my heart in any different of a space?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I can be comfortable that God is good and every promise he's ever made is true and right and full of mercy and grace, just waiting for his kids to turn. And then I have to watch person after person not do it.
Right.
And I'm like, God, can you make them? Why won't you make them? Why won't you make them do this?
It's a heartache.
Because he's like, because I won't. And I'll show you why if you just walk with me.
Yeah. Yeah. And lack of hope is just like, is never progressive. Like it just doesn't, if it doesn't do anything for any, it's not a practical good. It's not a relational good. And like, think of all, like, just I look at all various parts of our lives. Like I could look at every guy in this room and go, there's a point in your life where someone could have looked at you and go, whatever hope I had for that person's future is not good.
Oh, totally.
Some are different levels. Dan was a patch stealer. So, but like,
Well, that's going back
like-
ways.
I don't know why. I feel like Dan and I were just put on opposite sides of that spectrum. Just being real honest about this. I know it wasn't expressly stated, but it felt like it.
I'm just saying, there's different licks of the ice cream cone here.
Dan took some Hubba Bubba one time, and then there's Boova.
Boova had a Law and Order episode written about him.
But you know, like just thinking of, there has to be people who looked at you, something that was going on in your life and go, whatever, there's not really hope for that being a different life for that guy.
Oh, yeah.
And like that was the hope that, like, and then I look around the room and go, look at Dirk's life over the last decade. Look at Dan's life. Look at Boova's life now compared to even 5 years ago or something
absolutely,
like
yes.
that.
Totally different.
Like, look at all the things that God has you doing coming from some of the stuff that you and I have been involved in growing up. And you're like, who are we to take hope away from a scenario?
Absolutely.
And what would it have done if you would have rightly rendered it? Nothing. What if for you to be wrong is glory? So why don't we just choose? You know what I'm saying? And so like, it's not even a practical good to be pessimistic and not hopeful in people's lives. And frankly, and I say that because there's a practical good in just being optimistic.
Yes.
You approach people differently.
Absolutely.
There's some people where I don't want to even answer. Like I've lost hope a lot of times, and when they call, I'm like, ugh, goodness me. I don't even want to pick this thing up anymore because I'm not hopeful about their life, and there's no practical good with it. And frankly, the way that I answer the phone, the way that I think about them, the way that I pray for them is way different when I'm thinking like positive or optimistically about what the gospel does in their life versus someone who goes, look, this guy's just chosen to give God the middle finger. Well, I mean, a lot of people have.
Sure.
And sometimes that middle finger transitions to 5 on each hand and glory in the middle. And so, like, what are we doing? Who am I to take that away from them? But it's hard. The weight of people's arrogance or rejection of Jesus, or like the practical good where you're like, hey, God's got me saying a thing, and then they completely reject it, and you're like, it feels it's hard.
Yeah.
If it was your own steam to keep up the energy, and it's not. But like if it's God's thing to move, and he is to be trusted, then the conversation and the weight of it is different. But like it is a constant reminder. That's why we have scriptures that are so long.
Right.
They're constantly saying like, praise him for who he is. He is the creator God. Like, I mean, those aren't just like, oh, things that we say. They're reminders because we need reminded.
Yes, we got short memories.
Yes.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely that's what I was just about to say from the perspective of like being in my scriptures. The change for me has been rather than reading a book of history to go, oh, this is a far off God that like I'm learning about, and it's super cool that I'm learning the places he was at and all the people he interacted with and stuff like that. But like if I take that back and go, how is this me being able to see the identity of my Father and seeing the way that he is working within me now or around me now, and I'm reminded or shown that he's been doing that since the beginning of time, the dawn of creation. Like this is the same God that is the God of long promises and of faithful men and women that were instructed to wait upon him. They were to wait upon him for his timing. There are plenty, I mean, Hebrews 11 is literally a study in how many people like did not see their promises come about, but like they still waited on the Lord through their entire lives for that, and they are counted to be heroes of faith because of the fact that they may not have seen it come to pass, but they trusted that God was going to do it, and he did.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So yeah, I think some things to take away, Mike, from your story is one, like it's good to be the person who asks the thing.
Yeah.
The straight thing. I mean, be listening to Jesus about it. But like sometimes you need it rendered to you in a very direct way. Because we can even sometimes skirt around issues with God or not have the language for it that sometimes God provides somebody else. I think there's a lot to be spoken though, Mike, of your transparency there. Mm-hmm. Like the self-assessment that goes in, hey man, am I sure I'm not blocking God's like what the things that God's doing in my life because either like there's choices that I'm making, my attitude towards it, and being able to get to it. I think that refinement is the work of the Spirit in your life. Yep. Well, where sometimes like people just don't catch it. They're like, why, oh Lord, are these things not happening? And then after they, bought a pipe and a porn and went on there with their day.
A pipe and a porn.
I'll be right back. I'm going to go buy a pipe and a porn.
Let me hit up the corner store for a pipe and a porn.
What's gross? What's a porn?
Old magazine that's in the back that they put behind the auto traders so that none of the kids can see it.
Look, dude, we'll sell you the pipe, but I mean,
I'm sorry. Do you have a porn? Is this your first time, friend?
What's the interwebs?
Get out of my corner store.
The problem is that modern sinful behavior is very much harder to pin down. I ended up saying a porn because what I had in my mind was a pornographic magazine, which seemed also very 1960s.
I would like a corncob pipe and a hustler, please. Sweet Moses, man. A pipe and a porn. This is the worst thing ever. We were doing good for like 10 straight minutes. Then Ben comes in, oh yeah, pipe and a porn. This is
like a value meal at Sin Is Us.
I'll have the number 3, please.
Can we
yes,
just,
Charlie again.
Can we just appreciate that was not me who said that?
That's true. We've been doing this for 15 years, and Dan's had plenty of pipes and porns that he said. This time it's old Ben coming in.
That's my fault. I've been under the weather. I think that's...
Oh, boy.
I'm acting very Dan today.
I'm acting very Dan.
It's a good day.
It's a good day.
Okay. All right, Boovie, you've got you got a question on Ask the Pastor.
Do we even have the time for it? Are we good?
Yeah, we can do it. I think this is quickly answered.
Oh, well, no. Hey, dummy. I was going to say, did that feel like a dig to anybody else? I'm like, hey, I have a question for my pastors. Yeah, it's a real stupid one.
Yeah.
I'm going to answer real quick.
Only an idiot would answer something like this.
Yeah, sure. The book is called Yeah, sure. No hard J's. All right, so reading in Jeremiah 26 today, and there's mention of the prophecy from the prophet Micah, and we have that book that's recorded. We've got those prophecies recorded. But then later on in Jeremiah 26, into, I believe, verse 21. Nope, 19. You start to get this. Verse 20 says, there was another man who prophesied in the name of the Lord, Uriah, the son of Shemaiah, from Kiriath Yearim. He prophesied against the city and against this land in words like those of Jeremiah. And so I was interested because, so obviously there are people here, there are Jews in the situation that are saying that, like, we know of this prophecy, but that is not a prophecy, as far as I know, unless it's like tucked away in like a Chronicles or a Kings and I don't remember it, right? That like there's a prophet of the Lord that we don't have as recorded as a part of our larger Bible that we would call the 66 books of the New and Old Testament. And so I'm interested. I've heard the answers. I've probably given the answers, but more as a regurgitation of something I've heard than an understanding on my own part of why it is that I can say with conviction that I know that this is the breathed out word of the Lord in the 66 books that I study, and not within some of the other books that are mentioned, even within the books that we have. And so where's my confidence coming from that I'm not worried that I don't have the prophecies of Uriah to read?
Well, I think the most direct answer is like, well, you kind of do, right?
Okay.
So like you have, like, for the things that gives you a perception that there's something else out there.
Sure.
It's largely telling you that like the contents of whatever it is largely present. Now, so the places where it's not is like, where if you get into the Kings and Chronicles, where like, hey, don't you know that you could read the rest of this in the blah,
this
blah,
is
blah.
recorded in the books of the wars and stuff like that, right?
Hey, by the way, is that just a Hebrew way of saying that? Because it sounds real sassy.
And have you not also read within the book of the Kings of the Chronicles?
Have you not looked in the annals of Israel history?
Right.
The
You
book of
idiot.
wars?
Right.
I'd appreciate if you say annals.
No.
Let's say annals today.
I'll take it to number 4.
I hate this restaurant we're starting.
So like it rolls up into a larger question. It's like, how do I know I got everything that we're supposed to have?
Right.
How do I trust that this is either a full representation, or what is often the thing is like, hey, how do I know that people didn't keep some things from the stuff?
Right.
And so I say it's a quick answer, but it doesn't mean that it's a direct one. The quick answer is that like there is a faith here.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Yes.
Like there's a trust in God that the same Holy Spirit that has inspired the scriptures has inspired its collection.
Yeah, and I think that's the answer I've given before.
Yes.
To be honest.
Yeah,
And
and that is the reality. Now it is like, as you dig deeper into those types of things, the question is like, what types of stuff might you be missing? And like it tends to show up most in kind of these pseudepivotic stuff in the New Testament, where like, tell me about, it's the gospel of so and so, or the gospel of, or the Acts of Barnabas,
yes,
or
right. Gospel of Philip.
Yeah, those types of things. And so there's this broad view of like, hey, didn't a bunch of like old white fellas get together in a room in like the 3rd century and like choose the books?
Right.
Here's what's in, what's out.
Right.
I mean, the answer is yeah, but not in the way that you're thinking,
Yeah,
right? And
it's
so
based off manuscripts that we were able to.
Yeah, could they verify the
Right,
authorship
exactly,
and
yes.
you know, it's just legitimate
Was there actually like a
manuscripts
degree
and-
of closeness between this person that's writing this and actually Jesus of Nazareth and all
yes, that's right. It's more of like an affirmation. I will also, just to clarify, in case this goes too far on the old TikTok, like these weren't white dudes. Like these were
No.
still like olive-skinned fellas.
Yeah.
And so whatever thing you got in your mind of these predominantly, Eurocentric dudes.
That is what they think. It's a bunch of George
Right.
Washingtons all together in a room.
Yeah.
that. George, Patrick, what are we going to tell people Jesus said?
Yeah, for the same reason Jesus also was not a white man, neither were these fellas in
Right.
the same area of the world doing the same type
Just
of
a
thing.
few centuries later.
Yeah. So go ahead, Dan.
Oh, sorry. I say at the same time, God speaks in a lot of ways to a lot of people at different times. And
Yeah.
you look at the New Testament, and there were people with the gift of prophecy. Like there was no New Testament yet; it was in
Right.
the process of being written, and so God was still speaking to His people in many
Yeah.
ways through prophets. And as apostles started writing things down, and they started kind of being able to verify, okay, this is from Paul, this
Yep.
is from Timothy, not from for Timothy, not from Timothy. But there were still prophets out there prophesying,
Yes.
in little bug tussle Jerusalem,
Sure. Yeah,
suburb
right.
of Jerusalem, whatever. Yeah, like Ben said, you trust the process, you trust how God brought it together, you trust that He was able to
Sure.
make sure we know what He wanted us to know, and
Right, because like this is his
Yeah.
this is his connect. Well, it's the living word of God, right? That we can trust, that we are to see the
Right.
identity of our Father and Yahweh of the people of Israel. That I believe that, and I have a trust in that as well.
Yeah.
That does make sense. None of that changed anything that I thought. I
All
wanted
right.
to hear the breakdown of that
Yeah.
to make certain that one was not missing anything.
Sure.
As I get asked this quite a lot more often than I ever thought I would, if I'm being honest.
Yeah,
about
yeah.
that.
Well, and so I will say is like, but the answer that, hey, the Spirit who wrote it is also helped to codify it.
Yeah.
That you don't have a problem with. You don't have a problem with it because you've seen the Spirit work.
Yes, exactly right.
This is
Yes.
trustworthy.
Yep.
The-
You have a personal relationship with that.
right.
Yeah.
For folks who don't have it, you're like, well, couldn't people have manipulated?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It would have been possible
Yes.
if I did not trust that the Spirit made sure that it was the case. Now, we'll say from the Old Testament perspective, we see this pretty consistently as they start to find things like
Right.
they're seeing not only consistent books,
Mhm.
but we're seeing consistent language.
Yeah.
Like this is why the Dead Sea Scrolls were so important.
Right.
We get an affirmation not only of the text itself, like that matches, and then some of even the translations from the Masoretic text and stuff. Even when the New Testament starts to split and kind of go eastish, westish, like even a lot of that stuff still matches up as
Sure,
they start
yeah.
to compare things. And so, like, again, I would say, and you can totally, this is verifiable. Plenty of books that go out and do this, but like. These texts are reliable. They're far more reliable than a lot of the things that we are not questioning, like
Right.
the works of Aristotle and
Yes.
Plato, and
Yep.
like these things where your extant copy is not as robust and it's not near as recent. Like a lot of the works that we rely on from Cicero or whatever, like we're finding things that are 300, 400 years latent from when they were written. The New Testament, like people are validating. You've got copies of the thing within 50, 60 years.
Sure.
You've got people who are writing other works who are quoting from those works within
Yes,
30, 20,
right.
30 years.
Yep.
And so like it is the New Testament specifically is like the most robust and affirmed historical document
Yeah.
than anything else you're holding
Yeah.
on to from that time frame or even within like 500 years after. And so it's a right question, but like the history is on its side, the documentation and the robustness of it's on its side, and then frankly the persistence of how it's been used over time frame through translations and stuff. Like it's stock solid. It's difficult to not have to like to question or not have to deal with the historicity of the New Testament,
Right.
And then to call everything else that founds our modern society into question.
Yep. Yeah, I think the biggest one I've run into recently is the Book of Enoch. Like
Yeah.
so many people want to read the Book of Enoch and talk about that lately.
Yeah.
Like it's weird how many people in the last 3 months have popped out of the woodwork like, hey man, you heard about the dragons in Enoch and all this stuff about the Anunnaki and all that. I'm like, what? What is going on?
Yeah.
Or Nephilim, not Anunnaki.
I would
excuse
just
me,
go
but-
like, "How's the Sermon on the Mount treating you?" And then
Yeah.
and then we'll come back.
You been in Matthew 5-7 recently?
Like Enoch is interesting for sure.
Sure, yeah.
But like, I mean, I'm not sure we've nailed all the other stuff that are in our fingertips here. And so even if it was in the canon, like maybe don't spend all your time on it. How we doing the feed the
Yeah.
poor thing and the
And-
naked and stuff.
Yeah, that's true. The same situation is why I don't spend a bunch of time in Job 1-2.
Yeah.
Like I don't spend an insane amount of time in like, wait, Satan was able to just go to and fro and then show up to the heavenly host in the courts and just be like, that one. Let's talk about your son here. And I'm like, what is going on with my life? So
Yeah,
okay.
I would, and I think we've talked about this before, but like the things that tend to interest you the most are the things of which God is probably the least interested
Yeah,
in right now in
totally.
your life. And so, make sure you feel good about other things before you start diving into that stuff.
But I'm scared of dragons.
All right.
Okay, cool.
You're listening to Live from the Path. Hey, if you got any feedback for us on the show, maybe you haven't asked the pastor, or you've got a better answer to something we've provided, or you think Dirk is great and you just want to make sure that somebody knows, hit us up on the old Live from the Path complaint line, 515-517-0085. Call or text. That's the Bob Eisenhower Live from the Path complaint line, 515-517-0085. And that's call or text. And you can just, again, I know it says the complaint line because that's the most logical use for it given the context and how the show goes. But again, if you love Dirk, like you can say, "We love Dirk," and write it on your knuckles and take a picture and send it in, and that's fine. Will that fit on your knuckles?
What?
We love Dirk. Oh, yeah, totally. That'll work.
What?
Okay.
You're
Try it
supposed to put one
No.
letter per knuckle.
Yeah.
You ape?
Yeah. 2 hands. We love Dirk. Like
Okay.
love, hate.
Yeah.
Okay.
With a heart, yeah.
Yeah, see? It's happened before. Dirk knows how it goes. Okay, let's give some advice, and then we're going to do a tune from Dirk and then call it a day.
Okay, ready? Dear Live from the Path. A month ago, my 7-year-old son was struck by a vehicle while riding his bike in a crosswalk.
Oh.
He's fine now. His injuries were minor, although it was frightening. Police and paramedics responded quickly, and I took my son to the hospital to have him fully checked. Later that day, a police officer came by our house with a new bike for our son, purchased by the driver of the vehicle. He gave us a paper with the driver's insurance information and said something to the effect of, "Her address is on there too if you want to thank her for the new bike. That was really nice of them." I was shocked that he would say that. I guess it was a nice gesture, but she hit my son with a car. The driver admitted to having been distracted. At the scene, she said she thought she hit a dog. I could go on, but suffice it to say the driver was 100% at fault. I put the new bike away in the garage. My son saw it there and wanted to ride it. I held out until our insurance claim was accepted, and we went for a ride today. The new bike is not as good as his old one, but he was excited about it because it was of a different color. I'm so grateful that he's doing well and isn't afraid of biking again. My question is, do I have to write that thank you note? If so, can you please give me some words?
Okay. All right, Dirk. We're going to let you kick off the advice here. What do you write that note, or what do you think?
It's conflicting there, isn't it? Because one way or the other, I guess. So did she did say that the insurance claim did go through?
Yeah.
That was.
She didn't say whether she won it or not.
But she did say
We'll
it
just
was
win it
done.
through.
You just say it went through. There's a couple things not adding up here.
Well, yeah. To me, the number one thing, it sounds like that her son is okay.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, right.
So I think that knowing that her son is okay, I think that was at least they decided to do something. So
That's more than others would have.
yeah.
You notice that the police nor the paramedics took the kid to the hospital. She took the kid to the
Oh,
hospital.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The ambulance drove all the way out there and went,
Right.
Good.
Those guys won't let you do anything without putting a neck brace on you, at least sitting you in a gurney.
Okay, so you think the mom is suspicious?
I'm just
Or
listening.
overreacting to
Let's
her.
just listen how this particular violin plays. The cop shows up then, an hour or two later, with a new bike and says this was a really nice gesture of them. So now the police and the paramedics are on a conspiracy against you of trying to frame as if
Not only did you not take Jimmy to the hospital, you're on the side of the assaulter.
you know what I'm saying? It doesn't seem odd that the paramedics wouldn't have at least taken. They take everybody in, and then the police show up as part of a liaison of like a outreach program. Be like, that was super nice of them. Here's the insurance information.
Yeah.
You can write them a thank you if you want.
Yeah, they're getting paid to take your kid in. It would make sense for them
Okay.
to be like, yeah, hop in the ambulance.
So you think, as opposed to this woman's representing that, like, most parties are being insensitive, an alternative explanation would be that she's significantly overreacting.
Yeah, I
Yes.
think her son ran into another vehicle with a bike, like when the deer run into you. That's what I think happened.
Oh.
Or at what point? I mean, as a parent, I taught my children, I don't care if there's a crosswalk or not. If there's a car coming, it's bigger than you.
Yeah,
So you know what? It's going to win. So you don't just go into a crosswalk because you can.
yes.
I don't go on the bike trails that are painted 2 inches away from the street, and I'm thinking those are stupid because a car's going to run. Some dude's looking at his phone or something.
yeah.
He's going to run me over, and I'm going to say, "Yeah, but that was my lane." It's like, yeah, but I'm still dead. So, that part of that's on you.
Right.
Use your brain.
I kind of agree.
I'm realizing my parents didn't love me. I don't remember that conversation of like, Troy, now these cars are bigger than you.
Yeah.
And so you better not be out there.
Yeah, I don't care what the
My
law
dad
says.
was
I don't
like,
care what the sign says.
I think you'll be fine.
People
Yeah.
run stop signs. People run red lights. You never go into traffic because when there's a car coming, unless you
Sure,
know they're
yeah.
going to stop, you make eye contact.
Yeah.
You understand they're stopping.
Be
That's
defensive
true.
in the
On a
world
bicycle.
so you can't get offended.
Because they always say that. They're like, pedestrians have the right of way. Yeah, once.
Until they're dead. yeah, right?
Yeah, they get one shot at that.
But I was
Yeah.
right.
I was right.
Put that on
That's
my
why it says
tombstone.
right
That's right.
of way.
Guess you misjudged that one, Greg.
Showed you.
Okay, so maybe let's take a couple tranches here. What is your advice to this woman if you believe that she's overreacting, and does it change if she's not overreacting at all, and the situation is just as she explained it?
Dirk has to answer first.
Dirk, I think. So did you say? What do you think? Yes, write the note.
I think that there was initially obviously a lot of emotion involved there. As long as the kid is okay, and what are the police really supposed to do if the child's okay? I guess the other part of as my skeptical brain is sitting here thinking, do you think that the person that ran in that owned the car actually bought the bike for the kid, or was this the cops just
Sure,
brought
that's
something as
possible.
a
Ooh.
nice gift?
Yeah,
definitely
that's
possible.
true.
They took it out of their stolen inventory.
Yeah.
Although then,
It's not nearly as. I also don't love that it's not nearly as nice as the other one, but little Tim
That's-
is just excited because it's a different color.
That's
It's 'cause he's
where I
7.
was. That's where I was going with it.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
It's a
I don't know.
7-year-old.
I don't know if anything's gonna, replace that
That
bike.
is that
but
is
I
the
mean,
most damning piece of it to me is the fact that she's like, it's not nearly as nice as his old bike was,
Yeah.
and I held out, and he
Yeah.
was excited about it, but like
Dumb
I
kid.
held out until we got that insurance claim back,
Yeah,
and
why?
now we're out. Right, I don't understand this piece. No, I would say you are not obligated to this human being. You are not obligated to write this note. Like,
No.
you don't have to write it. I don't think you're going to be a discourteous person if you don't write it. It's whatever. The cop is making a gesture because they've seen a lot of stupid crap happen, and they've seen lots of stories that don't end like this. And so they're very jaded to the world. And so that may have been the first story that month where the person did a nice human thing of like replacing the bike. And so they're like, wow, this person didn't actually murder someone, and I just dealt with this person down the street. I'm excited to see humanity is still alive. You should write a note. That'd be nice. Whatever. Don't write it, it's fine. I think you need to take a step back and recognize what you care about in this situation. Because, like, yeah, you were probably upset because your child was hit by a car. Regardless of if they should have been in the road or shouldn't have been, I understand that. You're a human being and a parent. But, like, if it's been weeks and you're still fuming mad about this situation and holding on to these, like, super, like, I don't know, shallow thoughts about the situation, I think you need to take a step back and wonder why you're so angry about everything in your life, because I doubt this is the only thing.
I'm pretty sure that this kid pulled out in front of her.
I wouldn't be surprised.
You know what I'm saying? And like, can you imagine if you
7-year-old?
were the person that hit a 7-year-old on a bike? Like, you'd feel terrible.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Terrible. And so, like, you're just like, what can I do? Right? I'll pay the insurance money. Like,
Yes.
we'll get the kid a bike. Like, this sucks. What a terrible day for this kid.
Right, because even if they're not hurt, they're traumatized. Probably.
Yeah,
in
it's a
some ways.
mess, you know? And so, let's say, you take the mustache twisting out of the driver and just be like, this kid, you've seen kids, they just bomb right onto the road, you know? And so, like, the whole thing smells a little funny to me.
Agreed.
Just not quite adding up right. And so I think overall, I agree with Bova. If you don't want to write the note, don't write. No one wants to read your passive aggressive note
Exactly
anyway.
right, yes.
So you should probably just keep the note to yourself. But like, if you think that you're doing your kid any favors by not like looking at the reality of the situation, all you're doing is setting him up to be hit by another car.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that
The car of life.
you're not doing your kid any favors by acting like he's impervious to consequences.
Yeah.
Like put the same situation back 20 years ago. Be like, you shouldn't have been in traffic, Todd. You're out of bike, dude. You're lucky that woman. Like, I was not gonna buy you another one. You
Yeah.
rode out in front of a car. No bikes.
Yeah.
All right. Secular's advice. Secular says.
Nothing.
The question was, let's see. My question is, do I have to write that thank you note? If so, can you give me some words? Secular, I can think of a few choice words, but no rule of etiquette demands you thank the woman for the bicycle that was destroyed because of her inattentiveness. Done.
Full stop.
Full stop. You know what happens when people are distracted? They say they were on their phone. Like they have a real specific example of how they were distracted. They don't just go, yeah, she admitted to being distracted. I was distracted because there's a kid in the bike in the middle of the road, and then I slammed on my brakes. I feel like now I'm 100% sure that I'm right about this. This kid is to blame for
Now
sure.
that I've heard from Secular, you know what? I am right.
Yeah, I'm 100% right. This kid is the cause of the accident, and I think his mom's trying to cover it up.
I should. You know what? Realistically, I would have the kid write the note.
Oh, there you go.
I would
Yeah.
keep the mom out of it, and she needs to do it therapeutically, but she's not going to do it. But I would say let the kid do it because the kid seems to actually be thankful about it.
Right.
And
I got a bike of a new color. This is awesome.
yeah,
That's so nice of you.
right, and it shows. And
Green's
like,
way better than red anyway.
it probably gives the person who hit him a chance to she'll probably respond.
Yes.
And it shows a kid how to work out a problem, regardless of whether the kid was at fault or the person was
Sure.
at fault. It's probably both in some regards, but like this is how
Mostly the
people
kid,
do it.
though, you think?
Yeah, probably
Yeah,
mostly the
sounds
kid.
right.
In
He's
Mike's
terrible.
world, the person who hit the kid should write a letter to the kid going, why were you in traffic? You distracted me, Timmy. You
Yeah,
suck.
that's what John Wayne would do.
I got you a Schwinn from Walmart. It
Made me
was
spill my
$65.
coffee, and I didn't tell you about that.
Yeah,
Burn my leg.
I would have the kid do it. And then, yeah, because the kid probably would.
But I tell you what, man, if several years ago, 10, 15 years ago, right in front of our building here, some kid went out in middle school, drove his bike out in the traffic, got hit and died. And there's a bench out there now with his name on it. And once a year, they bring flowers out there. And
Wow.
it's like, was it the kid's fault? Yeah, probably. Was it the driver's fault? I don't know. I mean, it's
Driving on a road.
it's both. Both have to do their job, and both didn't.
Yeah. It's
You know?
called an accident.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, you're listening Live from the Path. Thanks for hanging out with us this week. Let's do this. Let's finish off the night with the musical stylings of Dirk Von Steen, of Not Buva, for sure.
Oh.
That beatbox thing that you suggested has put me off to any suggestion that you might
So
perform.
good.
a
I
number.
started a band in the last 20 minutes called The Right Two, and it's just me. All right.
Now, unfortunately, Dirk laughed at that. Now I question his judgment. He's a good songwriter, but I don't take him to play the lotto or anything.
Well, this is my first podcast, so I'm learning that it's all live. You don't know what to expect.
I'll tell you this: we've been doing it for it's been 13 years,
13 or 14.
almost 14 years, and I think you've done a great job. Like,
Oh, absolutely.
we've not improved, and so I bet 2 or 3 more weeks, Dirk, you could take the place over. I would think
As a
about
matter
it.
of fact, please do.
Yeah.
Hey.
Just come on out.
Did you guys see that the real Milli Vanilli's going to cut an album?
The
No.
real Millie?
Yeah.
No, like the dudes.
Yeah, the Ugmos.
They're not dead?
The Ugmos.
Wow.
Like
Yeah.
Oh, the real Milli Vanillis.
That's
okay,
what I'm
I
saying.
get what you're saying.
Saying.
Sorry, I was
Yeah.
missing the
Yeah.
point.
No, the actual Milli Vanilli, not the handsome versions.
All
Well,
right.
wait a minute. Hold on. Just to clarify,
The ones who were actually recorded.
the
ones who
voices or the
sang?
bodies.
Yeah.
The voices.
Yeah, the
The
voices.
real.
The voices already cut an album. They were the original album. The
Yeah.
bodies are the
You're
guys
saying
who
they have a
didn't cut it.
follow-up album after all the
Crap, I didn't think about that. Anyway,
Fake Milli Vanillis. Are,
So
Okay.
what you're saying is we could be the new cover band.
we could
for
possibly
them.
be the new Milli
lip sync.
Vanillis.
Yeah, we could be the
Let's start a
new face
band
of
called The
Milli
Real
Vanilli.
Milli Vanilli.
Put on
Yeah.
some
Sounds
moves now. I
fantastic.
gotta get to work
That's
on
way
that.
better than The Right Two. You guys are right. This is
Yeah.
great.
Blame it on the rain again.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, for having me on. This has been it's been fun. It's been fun. It's 5:30 tomorrow morning. It's gonna come a little quick.
It does.
Yeah.
It sure
It
does.
really does. The last song I'm going to leave everybody with is the first song that I wrote when I sobered up, and I started writing the song immediately, like within a month after I first sobered up. It took me a few years to really kind of finalize it, and I had a good friend, Josh Dom, at worship leader at Grimes United Methodist Church, Prairie Creek, that kind of helped to hone my my picking skills, I guess, a lot on this one. And was a very big influence. The song is called Feel Again. This is really raw emotions and what it's like in early days of recovery. Opening line, got to breathe out to breathe in. And this is all about accepting that there is a higher power in my life. And at this time when I wrote this song, I had no idea it was Jesus, but I was ready and willing to change.
Right on.
And that's what it's about. So it's called To Feel Again. Got to breathe out to breathe in, to stand and walk away, to find the courage to look back and for the words to say. Anger, fear, and resentment just get in the way. Searching deep within myself to shine the light today, to see the power that's over me has changed. Getting out of my head to let my mind be sane. Giving up every day to feel again. Got to get down on my knees, plead Please show the way. Show the hand of the lost soul. Give me strength to stay. To see the power that's over me has changed. Getting out of my head to let my mind be sane. Giving up every day to feel her care.